Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the New York City Transit Museum. I'd like to welcome some dignitaries who are here joining us today. State Senator Velmanette Montgomery. Assembly Member Joanne Simon. City Council Member Ydanis Rodriguez. Gary LaBarbera, President, Building and Construction Trades. LaTanya Crisp Soray, Recording Secretary, TW. Regina Esberno, Acting Director, New York City Transit Museum. And Ronnie Haycom, President, New York City Transit. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with Governor Cuomo to talk about the improvements coming to our transit network and the state's historic commitment to the MTA for its $26 billion capital program. But first, let's take a look at public transportation systems around the world. Because as a world-class city, New York needs to compare itself to others to see what they're doing. Shopping malls and restaurants and subway stations in Beijing. Heated seats for passengers on trains in Seoul, Korea. Train platforms separated from the tracks by glass panels in Hong Kong, something you'll see at many or most of the new systems built around the globe in the past 25 years. But here in New York, we're stuck behind. And that ends today. And the reason it ends today is because we need to step into the 21st century and bring technology into a system that at its original design and construction did not consider that. This station here, the Court Street Station, was part of some of the original IND construction in the 30s. It was going to hook up with the 2nd Avenue subway and be part of the network. And after 2 years of service, it was closed. But you can see this system and this building and this space was not designed for technology. The words digital and technology probably did not exist in people's minds back in the 1930s. So we need to bring the MTA into the 21st century. To say that the MTA is the heart of the economic system of New York is an understatement. It was part of its original construction, its development, and its growth. And it has historically supported that growth. The second largest economy in the world at $1.4 trillion, second only to Tokyo. We expect another 1 million people in New York City by 2035 and another 1 million people in the region by 2035. And it's essential that we plan for that growth by adding capacity to the system. And I'm sure most of you know the state has committed $8.3 billion to that $26 billion capital program, the largest investment in infrastructure in the MTA's history. And under Governor Cuomo's leadership, these investments will help us bring this system into the 21st century, starting with some digital issues. There's no doubt about it that the storms recently that we have experienced are increasing in frequency and intensity, and we can't lose sight of the fact of making the system more resilient. We also need to make sure that the safety, reliability, and state of good repair issues get dealt with. So while we're talking today about technology and digital, we are not losing sight of the most important things that we must do. On October 29th, 2015, the system saw 6.2 million customers ride the subway system. And that was on top of the growth that we've had. 2 years ago, in 2013, we had no people over 6 million people a day. In 2014, we had 26. And in 2015, we had over 40 days of over 6 million people. We have to provide additional capacity. And we're doing it with new cars, buses, commuter rail cars, and critical upgrades to tracks, signals, and bridges. And we need to expand capacity. As Governor Cuomo talked the other day, Long Island Railroad expansion with a 3rd track in Long Island, and the installation of communication-based train control so we can run more trains per hour on each track we have in the subway system. They're changing ridership patterns. People ride more weekends and nights. That's where our ridership growth is. They're using public transportation as their mode of choice. And we need to make these investments so that we have a reliable transportation network and help get people out of their cars. And continue to shrink the carbon footprint that a New Yorker takes in terms of living on a day-to-day basis. The old way of doing business at the MTA is over. And we'll start first with the front door to our system. That's the stations where people enter our system. It's the place where they get their first impression of the system and where they start their day. We're rethinking the subway station from bottom up, everything from its design to the way we get the work done, and to the way the customers navigate and pay for their ride on the system. But the vision goes beyond subway stations. The governor has directed us to quickly improve technology throughout our entire network. Going back to my early comments about the fact the system wasn't designed with technology in mind, that's a challenge we have, but we have to put technology into the system. Because he clearly sees what the majority of our customers see, especially the increasing millennials and Generation Xers and Yers who expect technology and connectivity to be part of their lives when they enter the subway system. Today, the stations we have, especially the dated ones, are subpar. They do not provide the amenities. They do not provide the comfort features that we need to be able to provide. They're dark, they're outdated, and there's no unified vision for what a station needs to look like. And in the past, despite many efforts, one would say that we attack these issues in a piecemeal fashion. On direction from Governor Croto, we will re-envision 30 subway stations in Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens, as well as 2 in Staten Island. We'll completely change the customer's experience by making these stations brighter, cleaner, safer, more modern, and customer-friendly. In return for the state's historic investment, Governor Cuomo has asked us to deliver this vital work faster, less expensively, more efficiently, and that's exactly what we're committing to do. We're also looking to design-build contracts to foster innovation, collaboration, and teamwork with subject matter experts, the workers who have worked in our system, the contracting companies, and the designers who know as much about our system as we do, but have better ideas as to how to get the work done. True public-private partnerships that we can generate the kind of interest and talent that we need to deliver this program better. These 30 stations will also serve as a template, if you will, because we're revamping our station design guidelines to create new aesthetics throughout our entire subway system. This is just a pictorial representation of the 30 stations across the MTA network that will see this particular work. Working with outside experts and architects, we'll be designing stations with a more consistent modern look that will include changes to entrance, lighting, wayfinding, a person negotiating their way through a station, and signs. A big part of this new look will be the seamless integration of technology into the system. Because in the lives these people experience on a daily basis, whether it's going to a supermarket, going to an airport terminal, going other places in the city, that seamless integration exists, and we need to do the same here. And we're changing the way we work on stations as well. From now on, night and weekend closures will not be our first option. A number of people, including the contract community, said, why can't we get in, get it done, and get out faster? Impact the people less, get the work done, and turn the station back over. And we'll look at ways in which we can turn over portions of the station in their entirety to get that work done. It's important we find ways to deliver this work faster and smarter. We're embracing the digital age for the very same reasons I said earlier, because it's an expectation our customers have. In terms of building connectivity in the system, it's not a luxury anymore. It's what our younger customers and our many, many more people find to be an expectation. That's why the station of the future will be a connected one. By the end of this year, all 278 underground stations will have Wi-Fi. By the early next year, they will also have cell phone service as well. We're also bringing fare payment to the digital age, because many of you do that in all other aspects of your life. You don't go into your wallet and use cash to buy for the services and goods that you have. Use electronic means. With electronic ticketing, there's no card to lose, there's no money to lose, there's no insufficient fare message. There's only better, faster service, and that's what we need to do here in the MTA network. This spring, we'll introduce mobile ticketing on the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. By the middle of 2017, we'll roll out a mobile app purchasing subway and bus fares. And by 2018, we're going to introduce new contactless fare payment technology. That means by 2018, you'll be able to use your smartphone, your bank card, or other media across our entire network. Today, more than 200 stations have countdown clocks, the numbered lines in the systems 1 through 6. This year, we'll roll out countdown clocks on the number 7 line, completing it by 2018. Next year, we'll have countdown clocks in every single Staten Island railway station. And this year, we'll begin installing countdown clocks on our subway's lettered lines. And we're reaching out to the private sector to find out ways in which we can do that faster. Because in some case, their core competencies are wider and broader and deeper than ours, and we need to find out ways where we can bring that particular information down to people. Because for the 200 stations that have it, it's something that's a tremendous boon to our customers. We're also working on ways to improve our smartphone and web applications. We've already got subway time, we've got rail time, and we've got bus time. They all offer train and bus arrival information at your fingertips and letting customers make decisions on a minute-by-minute basis, when to leave work, when to leave where they're going, in terms of where they want to go. It's something we're focused on. We haven't forgotten about the vehicles our customers ride in either. The 2 parts of their trip that we most directly influence in them in terms of where they're at is the station and the vehicles, whether it's a rail car, a commuter rail car, a subway car, or a bus. This year, 200 subway cars will be delivered with USB charging stations, digital video screens. Next year, an additional 400 subway cars will have these amenities. And going forward, all new subway cars will have them. Commuter rail cars will have outlets, security cameras, and Wi-Fi. From 2015 to 2020, every new local bus will have Wi-Fi. That's 2,600 in all, about 55% of the entire fleet. The entire express bus fleet will be retrofitted with Wi-Fi by 2018, and this will dramatically extend real-time information capacity for our buses and their customers. And by mid-2016, more than 36% of our local bus fleet, 1,700 local buses, will have USB charging ports. And the entire bus express fleet will be retrofitted with these by 2018. By the end of 2016, 200 buses will have digital information screens with providing next stop information, service alerts, and advertising on the bus inside. And in 2017, all new buses will have these screens with the remainder of the fleet to be retrofitted. We're also doing things in terms of security in the way of cameras so that we have better information as to what's going on in our vehicles, whether it's for terrorism or day-to-day security of customers on our buses and trains and stations. It's important we have that, because when a system sees 6 million customers a day, that's more than the combined populations of Chicago and LA together. You know, it's important that we have these features. These are some of the investments in New York City, thanks to the state's investment, this historic investment of $8.3 billion to support this $26 billion capital program. And it's a snapshot of what you're going to see in terms of technology and bringing in things that our customers expect, in addition to the safety, reliability, and state of good repair investments we need to be making to this system. At this time, I would like to invite the Governor of the state of New York, Andrew M. Cuomo, up, and he will talk for a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be with all of you. How exciting a presentation was that by Tom Prendergast. Let's give him a big round of applause. We have a lot of friends here, a lot of colleagues. Let me recognize Joanne Simon from the Assembly. Pleasure to be with you, Joanne. Adonis Rodriguez, pleasure to be with you, Adonis. Belmanette Montgomery is here, pleasure to be with you. We have Gary LaBarbera, who's here, one of the greatest labor leaders in the history of the state of New York. Unfortunately, nobody's here from the TWU, I can tell. Let's give the TWU a big round of applause. And special counsel to me, who's been working on this project, been doing a great job. Rick Cotton is here. Let's give him a round of applause. And Ronnie Hakem was just joined the family at New York City Transit. Pleasure, Ronnie. Let's give her a welcome applause. Well, this is exciting. First, we're in a transit museum. Why are we in the museum? Because you can learn things in a museum. I have 3 young daughters, and I remember I was trying to get them to go to a museum one Saturday, and one of them, who shall not be named, who was the wise guy of the bunch, she said, I don't want to go to a museum. I said, why don't you want to go to the museum? She said, I'm not into what was, Dad. I'm into what will be. I told her, it's a beautiful line. It's great. She'd be a politician with that line. I said, you go to a museum because you can learn about who we were, which will educate who we are and who we will be. She didn't buy it then. She's not 21. I don't think she's buying it now. But it is her loss. The museum tells you who we were, what we accomplished, what our character was, what our personality was, and it informs us going forward. And just remember who we were as New Yorkers. This transit system, early 1900s. Somebody says, I have an idea. We will build hundreds of miles of tunnels underground by boring through rock, which is basically what Manhattan is. We will connect the 5 boroughs with these underground tunnels, and then we'll run trains all through them. What an amazing, outrageous, audacious idea. The 1900s, without the modern day equipment and the hydraulics and everything we've learned since. And we said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. We can do that. We're New York, we can do anything, right? I want to build the George Washington Bridge, longest bridge ever. I want to build the Brooklyn Bridge. I want to build the Verrazano Bridge. I want to build the tallest building in the world, the Empire State Building. Why? Because we're New York. We can. We should. We're the best. There's nothing that we can't do. We raise the bar high, we meet it, and then we raise it higher. That's what made New York, New York. This place didn't just happen. It happened because of New Yorkers and New Yorkers' personality and our character and our ambition. You know how they say, oh, you New Yorkers, you're so high-strung, you're so ambitious. They're right. We're high-strung, we're ambitious. And we built the greatest city and the greatest state on the globe because we are. And that's an important lesson to remember. And we never took no for an answer. And we were never told, well, you're not that good. Oh, you're overreaching on that project. That's a little bit too much. You can't go that far. No, they told us we couldn't do it. It just made us angry. And then we were going to do it, and we were going to do it even faster. I love the story of the Erie Canal. You don't hear about it much downstate New York. But formative time for this state, for this nation, 1800s. The big question in the 1800s was what port would be the big port on the eastern seaboard? The ships are coming over from Europe, and where are the ships going to dock, and where are the ships going to unload? And the port that was going to win was the port that could offer access to the west. What was the West? It was basically the Mississippi at that time was the West. So George Washington and Thomas Jefferson are big landowners in Virginia and Washington. And they say, we're going to make Washington and Virginia the #1 port. And we're going to build a series of canals that go from Virginia on the eastern seaboard and connect to the west, called the C&O canals. And that's their plan. And they start, and they're building. And Virginia and Washington, that's going to be the #1 state and the #1 place in the nation. New Yorkers get wind of this, and they say, oh, that can't happen. We have to be the #1 port. We have to be the gateway to the West. Governor of New York at that time is Governor Clinton. He says, I have an idea. I know how to do it. Ships come in at Manhattan. They go up the Hudson River. They get to Albany, 150 miles north, and they make a left. And they go across the state, and they come out in Buffalo. And once they come out in Buffalo, they're in the Great Lakes. They can go anywhere. Somebody raises their hand. One question, Governor. When the ships make the left at Albany, how do they get to Buffalo? 524 miles, 1817. Governor Clinton says, no problem. We're going to dig a canal from Albany to Buffalo. They said, dig a canal? Yeah. We're going to dig a canal all across the state of New York. And that's how the ships will go. They moved to impeach the governor, saying he was crazy to come up with such an idea. While they were moving to impeach him, he was building every day. They started at both ends, and they were going to meet in the middle. They started at both ends. He was called doubly crazy because they were afraid they were going to miss, and they were just going to keep building. Long story short, 7 years, they built the canal on time, on budget. That canal made New York, New York. Because then the goods came in, we became the portal to the West, and that's what brought all the traffic to New York City. That's who we are. We built this entire place out of bravado and skill and daring. New York is the place where ambition meets capacity. Not just ambition, but then the capacity, the skill to back up the ambition. Ambition without competence is frightening. If you think you can do it, but you can't, that's a problem. You have to believe you can do it and believe in yourself, and then you have to have the competence to do it. That's New York. That's what made us who we are. That's why we go to a museum, to remember who we are in here. In here. And that's who we are. Now, somewhere along the way, that has faded a little bit. We've lost that belief in ourselves. We've lost a little bit of that daring and that spirit that kept raising the bar. And what we're talking about today is rekindling that spirit and that ambition and saying the New York we have today was built by our founding fathers, and our success is because of what they did. It's now our obligation to build a New York for the next 100 years so that our children and our grandchildren will have the same home and even a better home than the home that we shared. The MTA is the heart of it, but we're doing this all across the state. We announced a third track on the Long Island Railroad to get people in from Long Island because it's been too long. One of the worst commutes in the United States of America is the commute from Long Island into Manhattan. There's no reverse commute because they have to run the trains one way. Everybody's known it. It's been that way for decades. Nobody's done anything about it. And we said enough is enough. We're actually going to get it done. We said we're going to rebuild LaGuardia Airport. Why? Because it's a disgrace. That's why. It's a disgrace. And for too long, we went by LaGuardia and nobody saw anything. We were just walking around, nobody saw anything. Took the Vice President of the United States. God bless him, he calls it the way he sees it. Gets him into trouble a lot, but he calls it the way he sees it. You know what he said about LaGuardia? If you were blindfolded and you landed in LaGuardia and you took off the blindfold, you would have thought that you landed in a third world country. That's what he said about LaGuardia. He was right. We said we're going to rebuild Penn Station. You know why? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, Penn Station. Overcrowded, dirty. It's like a rabbit warren. You feel like you're in a maze, right? You get out of the train in Penn Station, you want to do one thing. Get out of Penn Station, right? And it's been that way for decades. Why didn't we attack it? Why didn't we say, this isn't New York, this isn't us, this isn't who we are? That's what we're doing. We're going to build roads and bridges upstate New York like we've never built before. We're going to re-envision Kennedy Airport, Republic Airport, Stewart Airport, MacArthur Airport out on Long Island. Javits Center, we announced a new expansion to increase it by 1/3. We announced that yesterday. So we're going to be doing this all across the state. But the heart is the MTA. Because you know what the future is? The future is mass transportation. You know in the movie The Graduate, you're too young. Movie The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman, he's having a discussion. He goes to see the wise man about the future. He says the future is plastics. Plastics is the future. That's what he said. You know what the future is? Mass transportation. You want this region to grow? The answer is not more people getting in cars and getting on the road and driving. That is not the answer. We're not building any more roads. The roads are congested. Gasoline is expensive. We're polluting the environment. You can't park. The traffic is terrible. The gridlock is terrible. That's not the future. The future is mass transit. Now, how do we get people out of the cars into mass transit? Mass transit has to work. Number one, reliability. Number one, when the train says it's coming at 12:07, you know what that means? It means the train has to come at 12:07. Not 12:08, not 12:10, not 12:07. It's reliability first. Accessibility second. Third, the comforts that we expect. I don't want to get in a train and feel like a sardine for an hour and a half on the way to work. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to sit in a seat. I want to be able to listen to my music. I want to be able to make a telephone call, be connected to Wi-Fi. I've come to expect that. That's my world. You know why nobody's cell phone is going off during this press conference? You think it's because everybody remembered to turn off their cell phone? Tom Prendergast never remembers to turn off his cell phone. I've done 100 events with him. His phone always goes off in the middle of the event. There's no cell service, no Wi-Fi service. That has to change. That has to change. It should change. That's going to be part of the MTA of tomorrow. Apps that let you know exactly when the trains are coming, what's on time. In the future, we'll have it all linked because now we have Long Island Railroad's going to go to the airports. You're going to be able to get on the LIRR and get out at LaGuardia and have an air train. You should be able to know what time the train is coming and what time the plane is coming. You should be able to know where the plane is going, what concourse, where you drop off the bags. That should all be part of the new MTA. And we're going to do it. We have recaptured the daring, we have recaptured the ambition, and we have the competence to make it happen. And that's what today is all about. And we're doing it the new way, not the old way, because we've learned from our mistakes. And we have made mistakes. I don't believe in denial. We have made mistakes. We're going forth on a new track to get these things done. One last story. But as long as your cell phones aren't ringing, I don't feel all those distractions. I become governor. One of the first meetings I have, I bring in all the top officials of state government, and I'm a new governor, and I'm all excited, and I can't sleep, and I'm energized. And I say to them, I want to do something big. I want to do something really, really big, because people don't believe in government anymore, and people are down, and people don't believe New York is the same mojo that New York used to have. And I want to have a big project that we have to get done that shows people what we're capable of. And lets people go, that's us, that's New York, that's my government works. So we sit around the table and we're talking and we're talking and we're talking, they come up with nothing. Finally, because I'm not going anywhere, I'm sitting there. Finally, somebody says, I have an idea. You can say you're going to rebuild the Tappan Zee Bridge. First idea. I said, I can say we're going to rebuild the Tappan Zee Bridge. Yes. I said, that's a funny use of words. I can say we're going to rebuild it. You mean we're going to rebuild it? Oh, no. You can say you're going to rebuild it. You can't actually rebuild it. I said, why can't we rebuild it? I said, oh, it's very complicated. It's a bridge, it goes across the Hudson River. The people don't want a new bridge on both sides. They don't want the noise, they don't want the dust, they don't want the traffic of the new bridge. The people who care about the river are very protective of the river. They don't want anything to be dropped in the river. You'd have to do an environmental impact statement. It's never going to happen. So I look into the Tappan Zee Bridge. Tappan Zee Bridge goes from Westchester to Rockland across the Hudson River. Beautiful spot on the river. About 20 years ago, a governor gets up to a podium, just like this one, probably was this one, and says, the Tappan Zee Bridge is falling down. We have to replace the Tappan Zee Bridge because it is falling down. 20 years ago. And the governor says, we have emergency patchwork that's being done on the bridge, but it's dangerous and we have to rebuild the bridge. I remember going over the Tappan Zee Bridge. And the Tappan Zee Bridge would have these big heavy metal plates in the middle of the roadway. And the plates would be covering holes where you could see right down to the water. I remember this because I have a thing with heights. You know, I'm not really good at heights. And you'd see the car in front of you go over the plate, and the plate would jump just a little bit. You know how when a car or a truck goes over that plate just dances an inch or two? And you'd see a little bit of light come through. And I was sure I was the guy who was going through that hole. that plate was going to move, and I was going down, and do I take off my seatbelt? Do I open my window? Am I going to swim up? Do I swim out fast? I'm going through all of this in my head because I was going to be the guy. 20 years we talked about replacing the Tappan Zee Bridge. I said, no, we're going to replace the Tappan Zee Bridge. Because if you say we can't replace a bridge, then we're gone. You admit and you believe that we're not capable of replacing a bridge after everything we did? What happened to us? Who are we? What happened to those New Yorkers who wouldn't take no for an answer? Now we can't even replace a bridge. We've come to a point where we're so bureaucratized that we suffocate in our own red tape. Our own bureaucracy strangle us. Well, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. The bureaucracy that we created to do big projects becomes the bureaucracy that now suffocates progress. We said we're doing it a different way. Make a long story short, we went out, we did a design build, we did a contract, we got a private developer. We took the political heat. It was political heat. People on both sides of the bridge did not want the bridge rebuilt. Noise, traffic, etc. It's political heat. Politicians don't like political heat. I don't like it, but I'll live with it because it's my job. You have people on one side of the bridge, people on the other side of the bridge. They will never vote for me as long as they live. They won't vote for me. Their children won't vote for me. Their grandchildren won't vote for me. Generations won't vote for me, but that's okay. 1 year after we announced we were going to build the Tappan Zee Bridge, we broke ground on the Tappan Zee Bridge. When you go past now, you see that bridge coming out of the water and going across the river. It is a beautiful thing to see. Because it's not just about the Tappan Zee Bridge. When I see that bridge, you know what it says? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Look at us. Yes, we can. And that is what we're going to do with the MTA. 30 stations, put them all out at once, design, build, whole new station, let people walk in there and say, wow, this is the MTA? This is a train station? Amazing. Yes, we can. We do what we need to do with the MTA. It will drive a different New York. It will allow a growth and an expansion that far exceeds anyone's expectation, because it is the future. The transportation system determines the economic growth of the future. They designed the system originally, they had 1 million riders. They designed it for 10 million riders. Look at the foresight. We now have to expand on that vision. And it all comes back to the MTA. We are going to do it because that is the DNA that we are made from. That is the blood that is in our veins. We are New Yorkers. We don't take no for an answer. The New York workforce is the best on this planet. The TWU is the best on this planet. And we're going to rebuild New York better than it's ever been before, and we're going to leave it to our children, and we're going to be proud of what we left for our children. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes the program for today. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Thank you.